But just in the back there a while ago, I was asked the question, when did I come back? And I said, from where? And then of course it dawned on me what the same question that I get asked every time there's a world championship. Same question I was asked after Beijing, Berlin. People are saying, what are you doing here? Why aren't you Berlin? And people are saying, all over Jamaica, everybody I run into asks me the same question. Why are you not in Moscow? And the question was asked of me tonight, when did I come back? And I said, oh, I didn't go to Moscow. Why come? And the point is that there is a sharp difference between the World Championships, which are only about track and field, and the Olympic Games, which are about 35 different sports. And because of my involvement with the Olympic Association, my contact is with the Olympic Games, and we have to make a distinction between the Jamaica Olympic Association, which is the umbrella organization for about 35 different sports, of which track and field is one. The flagship, of course, but it is only one of the 35. And therefore, when there's a world championship, which is only about track and field, I am not obliged to go, or not asked to go. I have been, but in an unofficial capacity. So the book, the first chapter of the book, tries to make that distinction, because it is something that I get asked constantly. When are you going to Berlin? When are you leaving? When are you going to Moscow? When are you going to Daegu? And fact of the matter, as I said, there is a serious line of demarcation between the two. The Olympic Games is a multi-sport event, and the World Championships is a single sport event, track and field, and Olympic body. So the first chapter of the book deals particularly with that. And I can tell you that when I decided to write this book, my fellow directors on the Olympic Association were a little bit weary about it. I don't think they really were happy that I was going to be writing this book, because they're a little bit worried about what I was going to write. But when they read the first chapter, when the book came out and they read the first chapter, which is a totally educational chapter about the role of the Jamaica Olympic Association and all the other sporting bodies, they endorsed it immediately. So I think that is a very important chapter to make that distinction, so that the general public can understand the difference between the two. The second chapter was about the first Olympic Games I went to, which was in Seoul, 1988. And what I'm going to do is just make little references to particular things that stood out in my mind in each of those games, which you will read about in the book. On the opening ceremony, the night of the opening ceremony in Seoul, we saw the hugest Jamaican flag. I've never seen a Jamaican flag so large. It must have obscured the vision of about 200 people in the grandstand. But there was this huge Jamaican flag when we were going around the stadium, the usual march, and we couldn't understand where this flag came from. We knew only 3 Jamaicans who had gone to Seoul. And we said there's no way that 3 Jamaicans would have held up that flag. It was huge, maybe about 30 feet by about 15 feet. Really, seriously huge flag. So we didn't know. We ended the night, and then the following morning early we got a call from a man by the name of Reverend Sun Mok Ching. I said, okay. He said, did you see me last night? And we said, no, we saw a huge flag. He said, well, my church were the people who brought this flag. I said, okay. And we got a call every morning from Reverend Sun Mok Ching, right? And eventually he invited us all to have dinner with his church. How did he come to call to be supporting Jamaica? He was the pastor of a Presbyterian church. And the book is, incidentally, not about who won which race. You will get a little bit of that. It's really about what happens behind the scenes, which you wouldn't know about unless you were there. So I'm going to give you little snippets. So eventually we got an invitation from this reverend gentleman to come to his church, to have dinner, to have service and so on. And well, remember we're in South Korea, and nobody really wanted to go for restaurants and go to anywhere to eat. Because the rumors before were that they were going to pull certain four-legged animals from the streets and so on. But nobody wanted to go anywhere, period. But we decided that on the rest day, and they used to have rest days then, they don't have any rest days anymore in the Olympic Games, we would arrange with the contingent of 54 to go to the church, have a little service with them, and have lunch with the people. So we got a 60-seater bus which is compliments of the organizing committee. It just arranged it. And when the 60-seater bus pulled up to take the Jamaica team to lunch and to the church service, there were 4 Jamaicans who boarded the bus. And they were all officials. Myself and one of the female chaperones and so on. 4 Jamaicans who boarded the bus. And I don't want to tell you how embarrassing it was, because when we went and the people filled the congregation, the church was full. Only 4 Jamaicans. They wanted to meet the athletes, not the officials. All right, so I'm just telling you a little bit about, and when you pull the whole thread together, you will see something about the role of the Shelter Mission and the officials in these games. We had to represent the Jamaica team. 4 officials, not a single athlete. Totally embarrassing moment. When we walked in today, they had a nice church service, lots of hymns and so on in English, and then they laid on a spread. And after we ate cross-legged on the floor, and we ate and we ate and we ate about 10 times, just trying to do justice to those who were absent. When we took a photograph, of the food that was left, we hadn't even started. That's how embarrassing it was for us. But these are the things that happen in the games. Everything you could imagine, really. So we go now to the next chapter, which is titled The Intervening Years. That's when I got to know Merlin Naughty really well. She was in Seoul. She was in Auckland, New Zealand, part of the Commonwealth Games. They didn't want to go, but you know, Herb McKinley persuaded her, etc., etc. And she did very well. She won the 100, she won the 200, and we had a little discussion with Merlin, myself, and Keith Shervington, blessed memory. Coming back from the dining room one day, we said, Merlin, so what are your plans between now and Barcelona? She was then dating an Italian gentleman, and she said, well, you know, they want me to run for Italy. It's 1990. And she said, that's out of the question, matter not. Secondly, well, he wants me to have a baby. And I said, oh, interesting. I said, but Merlin, think about it. Barcelona is 2 years' time. This is a conversation we're having from the dining room back to the residence. We had about 2 other conversations about this baby. And eventually, you know, we ended, and just before she left, she came to me and she said, you know, Mr. Anderson, all right, I'll be in touch with you. I'll think about what you have said to me. And we lost contact totally, because track and field and the Olympic Association, we don't really come together until we're in the Olympic Games or regional games. But then the following year, she ran undefeated in 62 races around the world. And then Prime Minister Michael Manley invited her home for a huge celebration. You know, really glitzy affair with all the top people all around the world to a function. And I was there, totally forgot about the conversation we had 18 months before. And at the end of the presentation, Merlin Naughty made a beeline, just like, you know, from here down to the back of the room, and she hugged me and she said, thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. I said, what's she thanking me about? This is 18 months after the Commonwealth Games. And she said to me, you remember that conversation we had about the baby? Well, I decided I would run to Barcelona. Well, the bottom line is, as the book will tell you, she still hasn't had that baby. And I don't know if she might be blamed for it or what. She still hasn't had that baby. Merlin Naughty, incidentally, was still trying to qualify for Moscow at age 53 and 4 months.
So what?
She didn't quite make the team, but when she was in Jamaica earlier in the year, she said she was training 3-4 days a week, as Erwin, I'm sure, will be able to verify. She was training 3 or 4 days a week at age 53 to make the World Championship team.
That is great. But
Tells you something about the lady. So we come to Barcelona, and I have a quick story to tell you about Barcelona, because they hired a lot of drivers. You know, normally these games, they have transport is a massive, massive, massive problem. So they hired a lot of drivers who were not from Barcelona, and therefore, even though they had this long period of orientation and thing where to go from where, which is very important in getting athletes from the village to the competition and officials from village to meetings, etc., half of them didn't know where they were going. So we had the first couple of days challenges, going to the wrong place, getting late, getting to different places late, etc. I got this driver one night who was assigned to the team, and therefore the chef de mission and the team management. And by then we were wary about the people driving us around, getting to where we wanted to get to on time. And there was a very big race going on one night. We don't normally get to see many of the races, incidentally. as management. We don't, right? But so we got into this car and we said to the lady we want to go to the stadium very quickly because certain races are on tonight, and she said, "Why are you telling me that? I know exactly where I'm going," and she was like, so okay, don't worry about it. She says, "I know exactly where I'm going." So she jumped in, locked the door, and drove us off. And we noticed we passed the stadium about 3 times. And on the fourth occasion, I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but that's the stadium over there." And she says, "You know something? I really am lost. Don't know how to get to the stadium." But these are some of the little things that take place. So we've gone to Barcelona. Atlanta was 1996, right? Thanks for the correction. That represented the first occasion on which I've ever held a gold medal in my hand. How did I come to get it? The Hemmings are the first female athlete to have won a gold medal in the Olympic Games. And she was so excited about it. When she came back into the village, she ran to me and she said, Mr. Anderson, can you hold this gold medal and keep it for me secure?" I said, "Do you know what you're doing? I've never held a gold medal before." She said, "No, but I know it's safe with you." And sure enough, every day, and this tells a little bit about village life, every day, having locked up that medal, I had to go open to make sure it was still there. Tells a little bit about village life. There is a particular carving I believe I got in the Sydney Olympics, which I received from the mayor of the village at the official team welcome ceremony. I took it back to my quarters. I've never seen it again. Work of the chef de mission. But something else happened in Atlanta because, and I'm telling you about the good side and the bad side about being there, and you'll read a lot more about it in the book, believe you me. The other thing that happened in Atlanta was that, the chef de mission, if he's a person who's conscientious about doing a good job, and believe you me, you really ought not to be otherwise, because anything that goes wrong, any athlete who thinks they have a chance of winning a medal, even if they don't, and they don't win a medal, they're going to blame it on the chef de mission who didn't do something for them. So that's the kind of tension that you operate under. So one particular night, the physiotherapy team said to me, "Chef de mission, man, you're in the village too long, man. Let's go out and go to Centennial Park and see what's happening down there." I was tempted to go, and I said, I don't really think I should leave the village tonight, and I did stay back. And 2 hours later, a whole set of frightened physiotherapists ran back into the village to tell me they were shaking and they were all pale, because you know what? They were right next door to the bomb that exploded.
Yep.
And my kind of luck, I believe, maybe, I don't know. But I would have been with them. They say the bomb exploded feet away from them. Absolutely feet away from them. And they were like shaking and white. I mean, they were like just absolutely terrified. All right? That was Atlanta. Sydney. Who knows that in the Sydney Games we were almost expelled from the Games? Anybody knows that? I don't answer. Erwin might know. Nobody knows that we were almost expelled from the Games. You know why? Anybody knows why? Nobody knows that you were almost expelled, so I'm sure you don't know why. But if you remember in 2000, Merlin Otte came fourth in the 100-meter finals at the national trials and really wasn't supposed to have been selected to run the 100 meters. But she had just come off a provisional suspension for an offense and wasn't in good shape. So she finished fourth, and therefore there were 3 other qualifiers above Merlin. But a deal was struck somewhere along the line that Merlin